What's up, party people? My name is Christopher Alexander Robert Clark-Youngblood. Today is Saturday, July 25th, 2026. It is 11:05 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, coming to you live and direct from the mean streets of Burbank, California. Check out my teeth. I don't do a ton of looking into the mirror, but every time I do this podcast, I notice something about my visual appearance. My hair's greasy. I haven't showered really. I showered last night, but it's 11:05 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Woke up, took a cold shower this morning. Definitely didn't wash my hair. And then secondly, my teeth are fucking chipped. My front two teeth are extremely chipped. Not extremely, but they're definitely chipped. Because I don't wear a mouth guard when I do jiu-jitsu. And you're constantly getting banged by people's elbows and knees. And your teeth are colliding together. And I can see my front two teeth are chipped. Anyway, that's not why we're here, boys and girls. We're here to discuss what exactly is transpiring here on planet Earth. Ramblings about what's going on in my life. What are we talking about? What's going on here on planet Earth? I plug this microphone in on a weekly to bi-weekly basis and just start rambling. Literally the first thing that comes to my head. Fortunately, I'm adopting some sort of curricular structure to this by studying the history of the universe. So we'll start there. Today, we are on week 10 of what is known as the cosmic calendar, breaking down the roughly, 13 to 15 billion year history of the universe. 1 week at a time. So you divide that, let's call it 14 billion year history of the universe by 52 weeks. And so we're studying roughly 300 million years of cosmic time every week that I plug this microphone in. Today we're on week 10. So in the theory of in the structure of our chronological study of the universe, we are about at 2.7 billion years of the universe's existence to 3.0 years of universe's existence. And the primary focus of this week's study of the universe centers around what is known as the cosmic web. We've been talking about this a lot. The cosmic web, from what I'm growing to understand, is like the basic structure of the universe. The universe is basically open, empty space, and this is known as the void. These are voids, and the void is filled with what is known as dark matter. All right, dark matter is all of the organic material that exists out in these voids that eventually both gravity and time act upon to form physical structures that are contained within our universe. Stars, planets, meteors, all of these smaller structures tend to coalesce under the force of gravity, right? So the force of gravity is bringing all this dark matter material together, and the force of gravity act upon it to actually bring structure to what is kind of the chaotic nature of the universe. And the structure, from what I'm learning, is known as the cosmic web. I found something very interesting, like a visual, in my research this week, really over the last 2 weeks since I've spoken to y'all. And so what's happening is I wish I need to add like actual visuals to this so I can like point to what's going on the computer. But it's the structures of the universes are coalescing basically along like filaments, they're kind of like highways. So you have planets and stars that are coalescing together to form galaxies. Those galaxies, there's tons of other galaxies forming along like the same highways, and they're all like merging together. And when they come together, these galaxies come together. That's known as a galaxy group. And it's not necessarily this like peaceful, calm coming together. It's like a violent collision where these, organic materials, planets, stars are colliding together under like explosion and chaotic circumstances, but eventually over time and under the force of the gravity, they coalesce to form like actual strong structures, planets and stars, depending on the composition of the materials they're composed of. Okay, so you've got stars made of gas burning like under the intense heat and gravitational pressure. Is essentially like these massive nuclear explosions in the universe. These kind of are like the parents for planets. Planets are more just like rocky, spherical coalitions of organic material, and they start orbiting around these massive nuclear explosions known as stars. Then you got yourself a little solar system. Or actually, what was the term? Solar system is our Milky Way. There's another term that we discussed in previous weeks for like other star, I guess it's called star systems or something. Star systems? I don't remember. Planetary systems, maybe? Anyway, so you got stars with bodies rotating around them. Everything starts coalescing together. So if you've got like star system A, right, and then star system B over here, star system A's got planets rotating around it, star system B's got planets rotating around it. They all start coming together along these like little highways, these lines, and depending on their size, they start merging together. Smaller things go into bigger things. And when these star systems come together, they form what is known as a protocluster. All right, so this is like galaxies coming together under the forces of gravity. You got a protocluster. This is multiple stars, multiple planets all coming together. These protoclusters, now I'm going to go to my notes because I'll just wrap my head around all of this shit. These protoclusters then come together to form groups. Actually, I think groups come before protoclusters. Groups of galaxies. These groups of galaxies moving along the filament, like all kind of coalescing towards the center. The more groups come together, then you have a protocluster. The more protoclusters come together, then you have a cluster. The more clusters come together, then you have a supercluster. And they're all just kind of, this is transpiring over the course of billions of years, right? It takes time for the smaller things take less time, bigger things take more time, as far as these clusters are concerned. And they're all kind of coalescing together, moving along these filaments towards the center, right? So you got little planetary systems, planetary system over here. How can I do this with my feet? Hold this mic between my knees. Planetary system over here. Planetary system over here. They're all kind of moving together and coming towards the center of a proto-cluster, right? And along the highway over here, you could have one planetary system. And then a second planetary system on this same highway. And think of it like an X. We're all moving towards the center of the X. And on this highway over here, you have a bunch of other planetary systems. So along the highway, they're coming together to form bigger groups. But these groups are all merging together to come towards the center. It's like everyone from around the world is like traveling to Mecca, right? And along these different routes, you start as an individual traveling to Mecca, right? Let's say you're coming from Australia, and you're an individual going to Mecca, and along the way, you're going to meet other people, right? And you're going to form a group, like a caravan. That caravan is going to then merge to other caravans and go larger. Now, so each individual is merging with other structures to form clusters, to form groups, and it's all kind of coming towards together at the center. Our very Milky Way galaxy operates underneath the same laws or structures as all of this stuff. So our Milky Way galaxy is a sun, a star, with lots of other, with lots of planetary, or what are we now at? 8 planetary bodies orbiting around it. Excuse me. Our solar, guys, this is how like not expert I am in all this shit, and I dedicate like 1 hour a week to hopping back on to like the research. I'm like, what the fuck did I read about last week? But I won't stop trying to explain this. So our solar system, the center of it is our sun. The sun has planetary bodies orbiting around it, right? 8 planetary bodies orbiting around it. That is our solar system. However, our solar system is part of a larger cosmic body known as the Milky Way galaxy. Apparently we exist on like the end of the Milky Way galaxy. And it's like, dude, that galaxy is composed of, let me see, how many stars? Like fucking gagillion stars? Have all these graphics and, oh, shit. So our galaxy, let's just see, how many stars in Milky Way? In Milky Way, because The Milky Way contains an estimated 100 to 400 billion stars. So hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way, right? Just in the Milky Way alone. That's a galaxy. Our Milky Way galaxy, single galaxy, operates in what is known as a galaxy group. We know this as the local group. The major players in this local group, the other galaxies, you have the Andromeda galaxy, known as M31. You have Triangulum, known as M33. And then in between those two is our galaxy, Milky Way galaxy. All of these galaxies are coming together to form a cluster, or that's a group. Andromeda, Milky Way, Triangulum. They exist within a galaxy group. Each galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars. It just like blows my mind just talking about it. So our Milky Way galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars. Next, we have a next-door neighbor galaxy known as Andromeda. It got hundreds of billions of stars. We got another neighbor galaxy known as Triangulum. It has hundreds of billions of stars. And our galaxies, these three galaxies known as a group, the local group, they're actually all along these highways, along these voids of the cosmic structure. They're racing towards each other. They're eventually going to collide together, and all of life as we know it will be gone. I think it's like billions of years from now it's going to happen. But apparently we're approaching each other. Our galaxy is going to collide with Andromeda at a speed of like 250,000 miles an hour or something like that. And all that's going to form is a tiny little cluster. That cluster would then continue to merge with other galaxies that contain 100 billion stars, and then you have a supercluster. Apparently, we have a supercluster that we're kind of loosely connected to. We're on the outer edges of our own Milky Way galaxy, which is careening at 250,000 miles an hour towards another galaxy known as Andromeda, which is careening towards another galaxy known as Triangulum. That is known as a local group. That group of billions and billions and billions of stars is also part of a larger cluster known as the Virgo cluster. That Virgo cluster is known as a larger cluster known as the Virgo supercluster. It's like everything's like this fractal thing, and that's just our Virgo supercluster. Not to mention these zillions of other infinite possibilities of other superclusters of galaxies making billions and billions of stars. It truly is just like we learned from an earlier age that like the universe is infinite. These numbers are truly staggering. You can't wrap your head around it. But when you really start to like dive into it, really start to break it down, like, okay, our solar system has this many planets and this star. It's part of this galaxy that has billions of other stars just like ours. But that's just our galaxy, right? And then there's this local group, as if it's like all so close together. And you're talking about millions of light years across all of these different structures. The local group is, it means we're neighbors with three other galaxies that came hundreds of billions of stars. It's just so mind-bogglingly large, all of this. And, like I said, we're only 3 billion years in the universe's history. We have, allegedly, 11 billion years left to get to even, the formation, or I guess really like 8 or 9 billion years left to the formation of Earth. All of this is just like so, the scale of it all is like really hard to fathom. And the possibility that life would exist is just truly certain. And I want to touch on that later in some of my ramblings more about like here Earth activity. But let me make sure as I'm talking out loud, that I actually kind of understand what I'm saying. So small bodies, stars are created, planetary bodies wrap around them, you have a planetary system. Those planetary systems are going to, under the forces of gravity and the pulling of the cosmic web and just the evolution of time, those planetary systems are going to form galaxies. Those galaxies are going to collide with other galaxies to form groups. Those groups are then going to collide with other groups to form protoclusters. Those protoclusters are going to combine with other zillions and zillions of planets and galaxies to form clusters. Those clusters are going to go to form superclusters. And it sounds as if like everything is condensed together and like all of this density of material. But in fact, throughout all of this, the most of what is taking up the majority of all of these like structures or locations is nothing, is dark matter. So even within these stars and planet clusters and galaxies and whatever, the majority of what is taking place there is nothing, which adds to like the lack of what's the word? Makes it all very difficult to like comprehend and fathom. Like 90% of all of this stuff that's going on here is nothing. It's 90% of it's dark matter. Only 10% is actual like tangible bodies, physical planets, stars, and all that shit. What the fuck, man? Just talking about it like doesn't drain, but like it baffles as can you talk about it. I think I basically kind of took care of that. Clusters, as we know them, are among the youngest structures in cosmic histories. They build gradually as smaller galaxy groups and smaller and protoclusters fall together under gravity under the billions of years. So these clusters, as we know them, they take time, lots of time. So our Milky Way is part of the local group Andromeda and Triangulum joining us. All of that. The larger cluster that we kind of exist within, but we're so kind of like far away from the center of it, is called Laniakea. Laniakea is the galaxy structure within which we exist. So we go from Milky Way to our local group to the Virgo cluster. You know, it's like I live in Burbank, which is part of Los Angeles, which is part of California, which is part of the United States, which is part of North America, which is part of the Western Hemisphere, which is part of planet Earth, which is part of our solar system, which is part of the Milky Way galaxy, which is part of the Virgo cluster, which is part of the Virgo supercluster, which is part of Laniakea, which is our, I guess, mega cluster, right? And at this point, you're out at the scale of like the number of worlds and life forms and different structures and ways of being is just infinite, just within our galactic cluster, just within our Laniakea cluster, not to mention the zillions of other clusters that could be out there that are composed of superclusters, which would break them down further into singular clusters in the local groups in the galaxy. Just like, what is happening? Like you've heard this before. I've heard this before, this concept. It's so big and infinite that literally there could be another you out there right now, except maybe with green eyes instead of brown. Like there would literally be another Christopher Alexander Robert Clark-Youngblood, who's a 38-year-old man, except maybe I have like 6 fingers or something. Like the possibilities are so infinite. $3.0 billion years in to the universe's future, or the universe's existence. Holy fuck. That's where I'm going to leave it for now. As far as the study of the cosmic calendar, let me just go through real quick my notes. I think in general, I picked up on everything I wanted to. Let me just read something I wrote real quick. This isn't a coincidence. It's the whole mechanism. The cosmic web, which is the structure of the entire universe, is built out of filaments of dark matter and gas that has formed from the growth of small density fluctuations since the early universe. So these filaments that all of these bodies are traveling around towards the center of that would form a protocluster, and then let me try to break this down again. It's like everything exists along these like highways that are coming towards the center, right? So you've got stars and planets that are coming together to form galaxies, that are coming together to form local groups, that are coming together to form clusters. And then once you reach this like node at the center of these dark matter filaments, but it's then, okay, then you got a protocluster. But then that protocluster isn't then just going to go down its own highways, like protocluster highways. And those protoclusters are going to join towards other galaxies. Now you have protoclusters coming together to form superclusters or actual clusters. Yeah, superclusters. And those superclusters are going to break off and go down their own highways. Just like this constant like fractal creation. Planets, galaxies, protoclusters, boom. Now we've got, now along the filaments are trying protoclusters going into superclusters, boom. It's just like, it just never stops. It's a constant process of death and creation at like massive scales. And it's the same thing that's happening. Once again, I always come back to this as like, as above, so below, as within, as without. Like everything is a fractal of itself. So the same sort of, it's occurring, this creation process is occurring on this massive scale out in the universe, but the same thing is occurring on an individual level here in our human lives. Like we're born as individual humans, we merge with another human that makes bigger human that allows us to make like families, potentially depending on like, let's say those families form into tribes form into cities form into civilizations. It's like, and it just keeps going and going and going. And then things die and then are reborn, and it kind of all follows that same structure, right? Just like billions of planets or stars have exploded and died, when they're reborn, they fall back into the same structure of life, the same thing that happens in individual humans. Billions of humans have died, but through that death, the organic material is created for the birth of a new life. And that new life, that new baby is going to become a part of a family, and then it's going to merge with another human being that's going to create another family, and that family is going to merge with more families. They're going to create a city, and those cities are going to grow and create states, and it's the same thing is happening on the earthly level. Holy fuck. All right, I'm stopping there because there's other shit I want to rant about. And that leaves us, just in my own mind, I'm like, okay, I think I got a good kind of stopping point. We're at 3 billion years in the universe's history. We're going to go up to the formation of planet Earth. I'm starting to have at least a general outline of how things form and operate, which is what I wanted from the initiation of this entire project 10 episodes ago, or just gain a very rudimentary general understanding of exactly how shit works and forms on planet Earth. Okay, what else is cracking? All right. Talking about going from the big to the small, I'll then now transition to my life, tell you what's going on in my life, and then have some commentary about the in-between, which is society. So you got like all of the universe forming out there, the smallest scale, my own individual existence right here, and then in between, although closer toward my existence, is like what's happening here on planet Earth that I really want to comment on. Okay, my own life. What the fuck is going on in my own life? I'm continuing to work as a nanny, and I'm continuing to work as a, I don't know what it is, a fucking companion, adult with disability companion. Dude, basically I'm like a professional buddy. Like if you got a human being that needs a buddy, you call me and pay me somewhere between $35 and $50 an hour. After tax. Not $35 an hour and then 25% off the top. No. $35 an hour is the amount that goes in my check, my bank account minimum after tax. Anyway, so if you got an infant that needs a buddy, if you got an adult that needs a buddy, if you need a friend that just needs someone to like either hang out with them and wipe their ass and make sure they don't die and teach them how to not be whiny and teach them how to be tough and how to walk and be a kind human being, I got you. Same thing with an adult. I guess it's all the same shit. Learn how to wipe your own ass. Be friendly to others. Be like resilient amongst seemingly difficult obstacles. And these are all things I need to work on in my own life. That's what I guess I'm doing professionally. Contract me. I like to work with not that I'm like looking for work. I'm actually finally kind of settled with work. At least for now. But I guess that's just what I do, right? I've never had an explicit career path. I don't really have one now. I'm just kind of following along with what I was doing prior. I'm a buddy. I'm like a professional friend. Which is very ironic because I don't have any friends in my own fucking life. I hang out with my girlfriend. I don't know, and she increasingly kind of seems like not that interested in me. I don't know if that's just the nature of like crossing the 1.5 year mark of a relationship. I don't know if that's like living with each other unexpectedly in an apartment. But for a guy that's like a professional friend in my own personal life is like not that dynamic at all. Which is probably why I'm talking by myself into a computer on a Saturday afternoon. I don't know, man, but I continue to feel compelled to do this, and I'm not going to stop. It's just like I know I'm not going to stop doing yoga or training jiu-jitsu, and there's like plenty of mornings where I'm like, I don't want to do it. It's the same with this fucking podcast. I know I'm not going to stop. There's plenty of mornings I don't want to do it, but I need to have first off, I want to learn. about the nature of reality. And so by holding myself accountable every week to ranting about what I've learned, I hold myself accountable to at least sitting down in front of a computer and doing some research for an hour a week and then regurgitating it, which, I mean, y'all listened to the last 15 minutes of my ranting. It's like, how much did I really... Anyway, it's obviously very rudimentary understanding. Secondly, there's a lot going on in this world, man, that is not as it seems. And I hate to be kind of negative about it, but there's a lot of fucking bullshit out there that's happening. There's a lot of lying. There's a lot of deceit. There's a lot... Evil exists, and this is not something... you're raised, at least I was raised, like good guys, bad guys, good and evil, and kind of traditional Judeo-Christian way of thinking. I was fortunately raised by a mom who was like a little Pollyannish, so the whole evil thing, there's a lot more talk about good rather than evil. But the truth of the matter is, now that I'm an adult, observing things in as objective as possible way, evil does exist, dude. People lie. It seems the more people talk about like coalescing into clusters and groups and clusters and proto-clusters, it seems the more people group together and the bigger organizations get, the more out of control and evil they get. It's like the larger the institution, the more capable, the more morals are lost, and the more evil can be conducted because there's like this diffusion of responsibility. So that's the other motivation for all of this, is like I want my thoughts and commentary to be on the record with like what is transpiring on planet Earth. Just for my own sanity, because I know there's a lot of bullshit going on and it drives me insane. And so just for like my own therapeutic outlet, I want my shit on the record. And then as far as like, who knows? Like, dude, if Jesus comes back, I'm increasingly thinking like the nature of reality is anything is possible. It could be that I think we're all kind of brainwashed in the school system to think of like the world as like materialistic reality. Science kind of explains everything. The religion stuff is kind of bullshit. Like believe the common narrative, but I am increasingly thinking a lot of that is not true. Like I'm increasingly believing in religious traditions. I'm increasingly believing in that the narrative that we've been told about who we are and our place in the universe is inaccurate. I'm increasingly starting to believe the timeline of human history is inaccurate. I'm increasingly starting to believe the nature of like the evolutionary Darwinian explanation of how we came to be as human beings is inaccurate. I'm definitely know that narratives that politicians are telling us about, really, I think the broader theme of like themes that politician and government want to scare you. And so whether it's COVID or climate change or foreign threats or it's a lot of it's bullshit and lying so that they can scare you into positioning themselves as the only solution to these created problems. And so you'll relinquish your autonomy of your own life as well as give up a minimum of 25% of your income in perpetuity. Not to mention the sales tax, not to mention the property tax, not to mention the sheer nature that everything is more expensive because on top of the taxation, they just continue to print money, which makes the actual dollars that you have in an account worth less and less. And it's all under the guise of bullshit. Like they're inventing shit to scare you into giving up your personal autonomy as a human being, both in what you're allowed to do, where you're allowed to live, but then also just literally just taking your money, which is yours, to use to navigate as like a energy resource to help you navigate your 100 years on this planet. And there's these forces that exist that are like draining you. It's like this vampire force that exists that's just like draining a lot of our energy under guises of bullshit. Yeah. So anyway, back to my own personal life. Still working. I'm currently. This might be the last time I broadcast from this apartment here in Burbank, California. My girlfriend's apartment. We are moving out. I'm not going to get into the full details of all of that. Things are good, I guess. But we're moving into separate places. This is kind of the plan from the beginning. Some things transpired along the way this year. Like I moved back to LA from Portland the beginning of 2026. The plan was initially for us to have separate places and just, we'd only be dating for 9 months at that time. Some things transpired. We ended up moving to get in together. Her lease ended, so we moved into a separate place together. And then now things are finally settled. I'm, working full-time-ish. Now I'm going to get my own apartment, which I think should bring structure and, like, calmness. It's all fine. Like, I think it's going to be an improvement for everybody. So that's what's going on with that. Continue to train jiu-jitsu and kickboxing at probably a little too rapid of a rate. Man, this past week I started working all day long, so starting like 7:30 in the morning, so I'm getting up at 6:30. Instead of training during the early afternoon, I'm now training at like 6:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m., training at night, trying to get to bed by 10. Yeah, anyway, the days have been long with work and then training at night and then waking up early the next day. Man, I haven't been in this like grind cycle for a long time. I've been on the grind of working full time, obviously waking up early, but I haven't been on the grind of working this much and trying to train this much. And it's whooped my ass this past week. Certainly, I've herniated a disc in my low back. I've known this. Talk about narratives that are bullshit. I've known this for a long time. I've had multiple MRIs done on my spine. It always reveals multiple herniations of disc, right? Like the gel material between your vertebrae explodes like a jelly donut. That's the disc. Like you have your vertebrae, then in between you have disc. Those discs are like jelly donuts that provide a cushion between the vertebrae. When there's too much pressure placed upon them or trauma or whatever, they explode. When the disc material explodes, allegedly, it touches the nerve endings along your spine. Those nerve endings then connect to various parts of your body and can cause pain and X, Y, and Z. And that's what I'm going through right now. My low back on my left leg. It's called sciatica. The same thing has happened on my right leg in the past. And if I go to a traditional doctor, they're going to tell me to stop doing jiu-jitsu. They're going to tell me to stop working out. They're going to tell me to stop engaging in extensive exercise. They're going to tell me to stop running. They're going to tell me to stop lifting weights. Not that I do that much. But basically, they're just going to tell me to be a huge fucking sedentary pussy and just probably get on some pharmaceutical drugs and initiate the death process, which is what traditional medicine wants you to do, right? Talk about going into like the corruption and evil of things. We exist in a medical system that wants you sick and dependent. And that is based on this kind of weird notion that your body is like more car than it is like magical organic machine. And I'm much more in line that the human body and brain is over here like magical miracle of the universe. Over here, Ford Taurus. I believe the human body and brain is much more of a magical miracle machine than it is a Ford Taurus. Our traditional medical system, however, will convince you and at times force you, depending on whether or not they've created a virus in a laboratory using taxpayer dollars and then release it on the human population and then force you to get vaccinated with a vaccine that they like put together essentially in like the basement of the government in 6 months. Anyway, I'm back to COVID. But dude, if y'all haven't woken up, if COVID lockdowns and then the subsequent nearly forcible vaccination, depending on where you lived, of the human population, a vaccine that caused more harm than the actual virus did, like they're vaccinating children and young people who would then just die suddenly. Tons of people developing way more cancer rates way higher than they've ever been after the vaccine comes out. Diabetes rates way higher than they've ever been after the vaccine comes out. Young athletic people dying suddenly all of a sudden when the vaccine comes out. It's like, guys, come on. But that's the system they want to trap you in, that they have all the answers, that like health and your body are like incredibly fragile things that you need to be like brought into the shop on a regular basis, and like all the synthetic products, you know, you need to like pump yourself full of like synthetic products and pills and injectables in order to keep this thing running, which is just not the fucking case. Your health, both mental, physical, all that shit is way less complicated than that. And in the case of this particular herniated disc injury, yeah, is there an injury? Yes. But really what's happening, the pain that you're experiencing from these like disc injuries, and I don't even know, I think a lot of the pain your body experiences is like kind of like a psychological defect trying to keep you safe. And so, for instance, this past week, I've been grinding. I've been waking up early. I've been working all day. As soon as I'm done with work, I head to the gym and I grind for 2-3 hours, getting in physical, intentional, voluntary confrontations with adult human beings. Like I'm fighting grown men for multiple hours a day. On top of, you know, working all day long, your body's going to fall apart. But I think it's really much more of a mind over matter thing. The pain that you're experiencing, I think, is more your body trying to keep in mind, trying to keep you safe and in a box, rather than legitimate injuries that pose like existential threats to your physicality. So that's what's happening right now. I'm experiencing some like major sciatica down my left leg, and I know like there's a disc herniation, right? If I went and got an MRI today, the results would say, oh, your L5S1 disc is completely herniated out both sides, and there's, you know, spinal fluid leaking onto your nerves, and da-da-da-da. Yeah, and that all might be true, but that doesn't mean that the body can't heal itself and I can't be right back doing the same shit that I want to do with my body next week. So I'm sore. I'm going to take a couple days off, and I'm going to get right back at it. If my theory is correct, that your body is more a magical machine than it is for Taurus, I should be totally good to go. If I'm incorrect, I would be fucking decrepit the next 6 months. So we'll see who's right, the traditional medical system or my instinct. I'm still shooting for world championships on first week of September. I'm not going to lie. I've suffered a number of injuries this year. My training has already been consistent given the move. Fucked up my toe. It's like I don't think injuries exist. Injuries exist. I think your body can overcome them without the intervention of the traditional medical system. And if you go to see a quote-unquote doc, dude, I stepped on a fucking like stick on the beach and had this hole in my foot, right? And went to urgent care. And, of course, the first thing this lady wants to do is shoot me with a tetanus shot. Tetanus shots are just one example of the myriad of bullshit that has completely infiltrated our medical system like a goddamn cancer. And, cancer is a great analogy because our medical system is rife with people suffering from cancer. You don't need a fucking tetanus shot when you get a cut. Please look into the amount of tetanus cases there's been in the United States or planet Earth for that matter, outside of like fucking Central Congo or some like hellhole in sub-Saharan Africa where people are like eating their own feces and shit. You don't need to worry about tetanus. You just need to clean your wound. The harm caused from that tetanus shot is going to be way greater than any fucking infection that you may potentially get from tetanus itself. The same goes with polio, right? Look up the number of cases of polio in the United States over the last, X number of years, 50 years. And then of those cases, it's like something like 99% of polio cases are asymptomatic. So anyway, the government, the medical system, pharmaceutical companies, which are all in bed together, right? That's this. Unfortunately, in 2010, and this has happened prior to this, but in 2010, with the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court that corporations are human beings, corporations are allowed to donate unlimited fucking money to our political candidates. So who do you think's fucking running our government? It's not you with your singular vote every 2 to 4 years. And like your $25 contributions to Kamala Harris campaign. It's mega fucking corporations with unlimited fucking money. and a direct seat in front of congressmen in Washington, D.C. Not to mention what's happening with the deep state. I mean, that the Congress and the executive branch of the president, that's like the facade government that they're trying to trick you that you are involved in this like pseudo facade of democracy that we have. What's actually happening behind the scenes are infinite layers of departments and bureaucracy that do not get voted out every 2 or 4 or 6 years, that exist beyond presidents. You're talking about, this is what is known as the deep state. These are bureaucrats, these are departments, these are individuals that have existed for decades and decades and decades, and it doesn't matter the results of the democratic process, they still exist. And that's where the money is going. There's no accountability for all of this taxpayer dollars. Nobody knows where this shit is going. Not to mention the Fed will just keep printing money when they need more. Not to mention that all kinds of shit that can go on behind the scenes. Like, what do you think the CIA does when they need more fucking money, right? They sell fucking drugs or engage in whatever other illicit actions to gain the money. Anyway, we've got this out of control fucking machine that is running our lives that we think that we're kind of in control of because we vote every few years, and I don't know, that we have like for some reason we think there's like some sort of sense of accountability because of certain politicians win and lose elections. But these politicians don't even know what the fuck is going on behind the scenes. Let's give you an example. This is going to sound so unhinged at this point. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Aliens exist, right? I think the brief fucking ramblings I've done about like how expansive the universe is, it gives you some brief idea of how long life has existed out in the universe, how infinite the universe is, and how impossible it would be that alien life does not exist. The United States government is in possession of not only of alien spacecraft, and to think that like aliens can only come to this planet on like some sort of metallic vehicle and couldn't just like get here through some sort of like interdimensional teleportation, or that an alien would even have a biological body, and an alien life force wouldn't be some sort of invisible mental existence. There's just so much more going on here to this reality than our understanding of the material physical world in front of us. Like, we exist in like 3D space where things must like fly using propulsion from one rock to another rock, and that would be the only way. That's our human understanding of transportation, where things could entities, life forms, whatever intelligences, spirits could move interdimensionally. They could move through thought, right? So anyway, but physical spacecraft do exist. Our government is in possession of them. Biological life forms that are non-human, non-terrestrial, non-earthly do exist, and our government is in possession of them. And to think that like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Marjorie Taylor Greene, because they got elected in like some fucking local election from the like 30th congressional district of South Carolina or whatever, is going to know about that is insane. When you've had these secret like intelligence societies that have existed for decades that are not beholden at all to your, every 4-year elections. That there's zero like accounting office. We're all just sending infinite money constantly to these organizations, to this government, and there's no accountability back, right? We don't know how much money is actually being spent. We don't know how much money is actually being collected. And a lot of it's just being siphoned off to like these dark projects or these black projects, these dark budgets, these black budgets where the CIA can go and collect fucking extraterrestrial space, correct crashes from throughout the globe. This is just one area of like governmental activity that we know nothing about, right? Is like the government collection of extraterrestrial spacecraft around the world and extraterrestrial biological beings from around the world, right? All this is going to cost millions and millions and billions and billions of dollars. We know nothing about it. It's not like we have there's like a budget, a line budget that you can like go into the governmental, database and see like, oh, how much money have we spent on collecting aliens over the past 10 years or whatever. No, the shit is done invisibly. And there's no accountability. It's just infinite money. So I don't know what the solution is to it. I mean, transparency from an individual level, and just I think the development of individual morality is our only hope. Like I'm starting to think religion is our only hope, maybe. But then again, I also think that perhaps religion was just started perhaps by aliens to like keep us in line. My broader operating theory is that human beings, I've mentioned this before, are humanity, Homo sapiens. What I am, what your mother is, what your friend is, what your sister is, Homo sapien, is a direct result of extraterrestrial manipulation of primate DNA. I think aliens came down here, they have always been here, and I think they genetically altered the DNA probably of like lower primates of chimpanzees, and that's what a human being is. And that's why you have human beings and chimpanzees who were supposed to be like our ancestors or whatever coexisting. And yeah, chimpanzees will continue to evolve along this Darwinian trajectory of evolution. I think certain species have evolved along this like Darwinian trajectory of evolution, but not human beings, dude. We're so different than everything else on this planet. We operate on such a higher level than everything else on this planet. And our behavior is just so bizarre compared to every other animal on this planet. There's just no way that it's the result of evolution from like single-celled organism to amoeba to fucking water-dwelling multi-celled creature to some sort of amphibian crawling out of the water onto land, and then the world gets struck by meteors and all that's left is like shrews, and then we develop from some sort of like mole rat that came out from underground. No fucking way, dude. I genuinely believe that human beings are a result of manipulation of our DNA from some sort of higher intelligent force. The question when it comes to religion then is like, because I really am starting to think that a lot of these religious texts did exist, like Jesus did exist. There were these great floods. Certainly the flood myths, I think, are legitimate because those exist in religions throughout the world, throughout time. But I'm wondering, like, okay, was Jesus an alien? Were all of these religious stories, were they completely invented by a higher power? So a higher power does exist, but it's not like the Judeo-Christian God or whatever that we've been told? Were these religious texts invented by extraterrestrial life to kind of keep us in order? Because there's a big theory about this whole like genetic manipulation thing is that perhaps we are just like slaves, man. Like, why is it that we are driven to just like do, work? It's like we spend so much of our life, it's like we're driven by happiness and emotion, I guess, but like the majority of us spend most of our day doing things we don't want to do in pursuit of like this longer end. It's like retirement. It's like we spend most of our lives doing shit we don't want to do because we're working towards like ultimate salvation or something. It's weird. Or like we sacrifice our happiness on a day-to-day basis for decades and decades and decades because like we're working towards some sort of like ultimate happiness, be it in the form of retirement or material accumulation or heaven or something. I don't know, it's weird. But then you see the dog, my girlfriend's dog. She's just like happy doing nothing all day long. And granted, like her food is provided and her water is provided, but I think we could definitely attain just like sustenance, having food and water, given the technological and intellectual prowess that we have as human beings today. Like, why are we constantly doing more and more and inventing more and more? Like, why aren't we just chilling? It's because we're different. Like, even though our survival is guaranteed, we want more and more and more. And we're inventing things that we kind of know are going to bring about our destruction or our obsolescence. It's like, what is that? Where does that come from? I don't think that's Darwinian evolution from a mole rat. I think we've been programmed and like infused with this like drive, but also with emotion. It's like we've been infused with good and evil within us, materialism, but then also like love of music, relentless pursuit of work, but also like a concern for your fellow man and empathy. It's this constant duality within us. It's very interesting. Anyway, yeah, the government is deeply corrupt, man, and they're fucking with us. They're fucking with our health and lying about all that. They're just in bed with corporations, man. So we all have this like very naive notion that the government is here for us to protect us and like serve us, but that's not it at all, man. The system, and I'm not saying that's not what it was set out to do. I really think that was kind of what it was set out to do in this great experiment 250 years ago in freedom. America, a place where like individuals could pursue their own happiness, and that we'd have some sort of governmental structure that was directly beholden to the people in the form of democracy, as opposed to tyranny, which has existed throughout human history. It's like the majority of human history and civilization is a story of tyranny, of a small group or just a single individual dominating masses of people. And so to think that wouldn't be the case under different form today is ludicrous. We still exist under a different form of tyranny. It's just like more mild. But if you look at the structure of things, it is tyrannical. Your money is stolen from you. It's not like asked, hey, would you mind contributing to this like community fund so we can send kids to school and build roads and hospitals? No. It's just stolen from you. And not in one way. It's stolen from you through income tax, through property tax, through sales tax, all kinds of taxation. It's then sent off to unaccountable people to do with whatever the fuck they want with. And then you're presented with this bullshit notion that like voting and democracy somehow means that like your money is like you're in charge of your money. Like you have a say in where it goes because you get to vote for this fucking liar every 4 years who's just going to tell you what you want to hear so he can get elected. And they're all kind of like dick around, like go along like, yeah, we live in a democracy, which is just not true, dude. Especially since 2010 when Citizens United, the Supreme Court ruling known as Citizens United, allowed corporations to contribute as much money to the political campaign as possible. It's like these corporations are electing the people, the politicians. And those politicians aren't even really the ones that are controlling things. The corporations are just directly electing the facade, which is the representatives and the senators and the presidents that is like presented as this facade that like these are the people that like are hearing you when they're not. Not only they're not hearing you, they're hearing corporations. And then it goes way deeper than that. That's just like the elected official, just like the iceberg of the government, is the tip of the iceberg of the government. And when the real government of what's happening, controlling your life and doing all kinds of wild shit and around the world and keeping secrets from you and poisoning you, that's the underwater. That's the deep state. That's what's actually happening. And then the corporations have a direct line of communication to those people. So, for instance, when the U.S. government discovers a crashed spacecraft in Roswell, New Mexico, it's not as if they come out and say, hey, guess what, American people? We've made the greatest discovery in the history of humanity. An alien spacecraft has crashed on our planet. Can you believe it? We're not alone in this universe. Let's collectively go together and see what we can learn and communicate with these people. No! This is 1945. This is like way before corporations have even infiltrated American life and quote-unquote democracy like they have today. This is 60, 70, 80 years ago, right? It's not as if they present this spacecraft to the American people and like, let's all engage in this scientific inquiry together or the spiritual inquiry together. A fucking alien life form, that's a spiritual question. It's a scientific question. It's a moral question. It's like it opens up everything as far as existence is concerned, but it's kept from you. It's kept secret, and the only people that are allowed in on it are mega corporations. So then that spacecraft is sent to fucking Boeing or whatever, or Raytheon, or Bell Laboratories. some private corporation where a small handful of like extremely rich individuals get to extract that technology, monetize it, and we have no idea what the fuck is going on. We just think, oh, all of a sudden fiber optics got invented, or the telephone got invented, or fucking internet got invented, or AI got invented. Do you think that the rate of technology, dude, what has transpired in our world from 1900, or let's call it like 1926 to 2026 is fucking insane. Or from 1826 to 2026 in 200 years is fucking insane. That same rate of technological advancement was not happening from 1200 to 1400 or from 200 AD to 400 AD. Life in 200 AD to 400 AD did not look that much different. Life in 1826 compared to 2026 is two completely different universes. Do you think that's just because of like kids going to school and working hard and studying and like advancing technology? No, motherfuckers. Aliens have come and given us shit. And we learned about it. And there's no doubt in my mind. And I'm not just like pulling this out of my ass. There's all kinds of documentaries and people, whistleblowers coming out about all this shit, and you can read about all this shit. If I could point to one documentary, I'd point to the Age of Disclosure. Age of Disclosure, directed by Dan Farah, I believe his name is. You can also look to the work of James Fox from a documentary perspective. He goes more into like specific encounters with aliens. I don't mind going so much on aliens. I think it's just like the biggest question of our universe. And it's the easiest thing to point to like the corruption and evilness of government existence, because these things exist and they hide it from us. They lie to us. When these are the biggest. Nothing has the right to hide from you the very nature of your spiritual, physical existence. And they're keeping that from us. Probably because they know that aliens came down here and manipulated our fucking genetics, and we think we all evolved from fucking monkeys, and really we're all half alien. And that probably would cause a major fucking disruption to society if it were known. But I'm letting you know right now, that is what's up. And then I could continue to rant about all kinds of shit, man, about like what the CIA does in foreign countries and how unaccountable they are and how unaccountable they've been throughout history. The fact that the CIA has been experimenting on American citizens with LSD and mind control studies and hypnosis and the things. Yeah, I mean, just you can point to something called what's it called? Anyway, in the 60s, what the fuck is the, not Project Mockingbird. Tom O'Neill's book, Chaos. Anyway, just as an anecdote, like in the 60s and 70s, and probably still today, the CIA invented LSD and then was like dosing American citizens on LSD to see like what they could do, right? They would take John, so dudes pursuing prostitutes in San Francisco, and they would get these prostitutes to dose these Johns with LSD, and then they'd watch these dudes behind a two-way mirror just to see what they would do. So for you have the U.S. government just like dosing innocent American citizens with high levels of LSD without their knowledge, just to like see what the fuck is going on. The U.S. government created Charles Manson and the Manson murders, right? Charles Manson was a product of the U.S. government. If you go look into his story, he was like a pawn of the U.S. government, and it was a lot of it was to do with these LSD experimentation programs and hypnosis. So he was like an agent of the U.S. government essentially, and they gave him unlimited LSD and kind of like directed him in this way of starting these cults so they could study how like an individual charismatic figure could use LSD to like control people's minds. And they were wanting to see like, can we turn innocent everyday people into fucking crazy murderers? Like violent murderers? The answer was, yeah, they could. And that's how Charles Manson was created. These are just specific examples. And this is your taxpayer money, our taxpayer money, to like make the world this horrible fucking place. Not to mention like the whole COVID thing, dude. I'm just ranting now, but like, dude, Anthony Fauci was in charge of COVID, lying to you about this disease that came from fucking bats when it was really created by his. He was in charge of creating COVID through gain-of-function research in China. This is research that the Obama administration tried to bring it into. They did bring it into. In 2012, I think it was, the Obama administration was like, what are y'all doing? You're taking viruses that already exist and making them more dangerous, more lethal, more infectious, and you're claim for your justification for doing this is because, we just want to study what could potentially happen if these viruses become more dangerous in nature. No, motherfuckers, you guys are creating biological weapons. That's exactly what the fuck is going on. So Anthony Fauci is in charge of this biological weapon creation program that they call gain-of-function research, which is what, just like this amorphous term of like sounds, gain-of-function. What does that even fucking mean? They're saying that they're just, we're taking viruses and making them way more deadly and dangerous because that would be good for humanity because maybe one day we'll need a vaccine for way more deadly and dangerous shit. But you didn't make a vaccine. You just made a fucking weapon, which you released on the population, which was the goal in the first place. The goal in the first place was to release a virus on the fucking people because then you can position yourself as the hero and savior. You can position yourself as the hero and savior of all of humanity. You can consolidate the power of government. And you now have a blank check or even more of a reason to extract unlimited resources from the human population, not to mention whatever the fuck else was going on as a motivating factor of that, whether or not it's depopulation. Dude, I don't know, man. Like, what other reasons would you have for locking all of humanity into its homes? I don't know. Seems like a lot of alien discoveries were coming out at that time. If you want to slow down that discovery process, you might want to lock people in the home. Ooh, what else was coming around on the scene around that time? Jeffrey Epstein was coming around on the scene around 2019, 2020, and the discovery of that, locking people in their homes and, creating a major fucking global distraction and threat to people's lives would, cause people to be less interested in that. Anyway, man, there's tons of fucking fuckery occurring at the highest levels of government, and we're being lied to and manipulated, and the ultimate goal is profit and control and money and not like your individual pursuit of liberty and freedom, which is the ultimate intent of this experiment in democracy. So, man, I don't know. I don't have like a solution. I think it's increasingly, I've said this for a while, but it's like you just got to start winding back government. Like, we don't need this massive, megalithic, centralized authority. You just don't, man. And so I think as individuals, it's incumbent upon us to reduce our tax burden, our individual tax burden as much as possible. Because the only thing that's going to, quote unquote, drain the swamp or whatever and make government smaller is them having less resources. Unfortunately, we're kind of trapped in this system, right? Where you're kind of a fucking slave, man. You're a slave. Like, you got to go to work, and then 25% of that paycheck's going to go to the beast. And how do you do that? Like, you just stop. Do we all just stop working? Well, start working in the black market economy. Like, I work for cash a lot. Do we all just start working for cash? It's a tricky kind of. It's an intricate web, man, and we're all part of it. But this is not the solution to and this is not the direction. This is not the best direction for humanity on a broad scale, on like a species level scale, nor on an individual scale, to have our lives run by this megalithic authority, by tyranny. I mean, once again, look through the history of human civilization. It is one of tyranny, right? Small groups of individuals running the masses in a very unfair and unjust way, where small groups of individuals or single individuals position themselves as almost like this deity authority. And the same shit is still happening today on a different level. To go back to Fauci real quick and what he did with COVID, he did the exact same thing during the AIDS crisis. You make a case that AIDS in itself, just like COVID, is kind of bullshit. And what Fauci did during AIDS is, whoa, what do you know? All of a sudden, there's this fucking runaway virus that everyone be scared of. If you have sex, you're going to get AIDS. What's the one thing we all want to do is have sex? Oh, don't have sex anymore. You're going to get AIDS. That's what they tried to scare you with in the 80s and 90s. Same thing with COVID. If you breathe, you're going to get COVID. They want to separate individuals. During AIDS, they want to separate people from procreating. And during COVID, dude, they went one step further, like separate people from even being in the same physical space. You not see how the same evil lies at the heart of both, and both were kind of bullshit? Because then what did Fauci do with AIDS, is quote-unquote potentially incurable disease? He presented a medication, AZT, as the only solution to AIDS. AZT was a fucking cancer drug that killed people way faster than the AIDS virus ever could. And that was real shit. That was Anthony Fauci telling the American people to trust the science that that AZT was safe and effective, just like the COVID vaccine. And guess what AZT did? This is the movie Dallas Buyers Club with Matthew McConaughey. It killed people way faster than the virus itself. Sound familiar? The exact same shit happens 30 years later with COVID. And then on his way out, with an auto-pin signature, Anthony Fauci gets a lifetime pardon from the government. He hasn't been charged with any crimes. Why does he need a pardon going back to 2014? Because he's an evil fuck. And this is just one example of the type of shit that's going on at the highest levels of government. Man, I've ranted my ass off. Let's get on the sports. World Cup is over. Spain won. Cool. That's all I got to say about that. It was cool to watch. UFC's rocking and rolling. I love the UFC. It's my favorite sport. Paddy Pimblett stole the show at UFC 329, which was supposed to be Conor McGregor's show. Conor McGregor is, listen, he had 2 fights left in the UFC. He pretty clearly came into that fight with a pre-existing injury, in my opinion. But he wants to get out of his contract with the UFC. He has 2 fights left in his deal. He blew out his knee prior to the fight, it seems to me. He just stepped in the cage so he could check off 1 fight off his deal. Now he's got 1 fight left. As soon as he's recovered from this, whatever surgery it is, I think it might be a meniscus, actually, he'll be back in the UFC. He'll get his last fight done with the UFC. It'll be this huge hoopla and probably a big letdown, and then he'll be free. And he'll be off the, fight for Netflix or in BKFC or whatever. It's a dead period in sports. I guess baseball is going on. Who gives a fuck? Football season will start ramping up here soon. Thank God for head coach Mike Macdonald, our true Lord and Savior. Given all the shit I just ranted about that's kind of all negative and evil, it's good to know that dudes like head coach Mike Macdonald do exist, because that's a real fucking human being that I've known since he was a little boy. And it wasn't like he was like a Jesus-like figure, but he was like a good human with a good head on his shoulders who treated people with respect. He wasn't like the nicest, friendliest, most gregarious guy. He's a focused, determined, disciplined individual like you'd think any head coach would be. Can be a little abrasive or whatever, but like a good person with good morals and a good head on his shoulder that treats human beings with respect. That shows all of us that if you focus on a single task in this life, become obsessed with something and willing to sacrifice it for it, and are passionate about it, you can achieve really cool shit in this life. Despite all the corruption, despite all the lying, despite the bullshit, there are elements of goodness that exists at the heart of all of this. And like the badness makes it all interesting too. I think I've gone on this philosophy before about life, but it's like treat it like a video game, dude, or a movie. A video game or a movie wouldn't be interesting if there wasn't evil out there. So look at yourself like the good guy in the video game or the good guy in the movie. In your efforts, this is America, motherfucker. I think we're on these individual pursuits of happiness and liberty. So it does need to be in line with whatever society standards are, what society's views of success are. You, as an individual in this game of good and evil, this movie of good and evil, get to position yourself however you want. You can join the team of evil. You can join the team of good. You get to define what evil is. You get to define what good is. I think you can pretty clearly see where I stand on what I think is good and evil is in this world. I think individuals are good. Conglomerations of individuals are evil in a lot of ways. So yeah, just position yourself in this life as the good guy. And you have to have bad things in order to be good. You couldn't have good without bad. And just pursue your life in an individual way, in a way that you think is meaningful and good. Head coach Mike Macdonald, our Lord and Savior, Super Bowl champion of Seattle Seahawks, found football as his goodness, as his personal calling, and pursued that relentlessly. And leaves a shining example for us, just like Jesus Christ did in his pursuit of good, of how to live a good, successful, individualized, meaningful, powerful life. And you can do that in your own life, in your own way. I'm trying to do that in my own life, in my own way, by being, I guess, a professional buddy for now, and doing my best in jiu-jitsu in martial arts. Not only my own individual performance, but really challenging all of my training partners on a daily basis to bring out their best. I'm really trying to pull the best out of all of my training partners on a daily basis. I'm trying to be the best partner I can be to my girlfriend. I'm trying to be as friendly and smiley and warm with random individuals and strangers I meet on the street. I'm trying to keep my mind open and not be corrupted and not be influenced by evil forces that like draw me into nonsensical perspectives of existence and limited perspectives of human capability. I'm trying to study and wrap my head around as much of this existence as possible while I can, and then share those thoughts in an unabashed, unfearful way, because I think a lot of people are fearful of just saying things that I know they are, that just like step out of line with the typical narrative of human existence. In Los Angeles, you can see that more than anything, man. You exist in these places like Los Angeles or Southern California are just these vacuums of thought, dude. These thought bubbles where you have conversations with people who are just like, you feel like everyone is kind of the same person in a way. And no one is truly thinking outside the box. And a lot of people are just buying the bullshit narratives that have been fed by authority figures. Or they're, everyone just kind of repeats what everyone else is saying around them. Because ultimately, as human beings, we're social creatures that do not want to be left out of a tribe. We still exist with these primitive notions that we must belong to the tribe in order to survive. And don't get me wrong, life is happier when you have people around you. But we don't live in tribes in the forest. Like, you can find people that think like you. You can find your own tribe without just like mimicking the same bullshit narratives and lines of thinking as everyone around you. Be respectful and nice and loving. At the end of the day, we only have so much time here on earth. And so if people think differently from you or have different perspectives from you, there's no point in allowing animosity or hate or whatever to result from that. It's just like, okay, whatever. We don't see things the same way. Move on. Let's still enjoy each other's company to the greatest extent possible. Because at the same time, there's a lot of serious business and nonsense and evil and bullshit happening. But at the same time, it's like my sister has this sign or something in her bathroom in Ventura. I don't know if it's hers or left from the owners of the house before, but it says like, actually, it all is just fun and games. And when you look at it from that way, it's like, yeah, dude, I could wake up every morning and be pissed off at the FDA and Anthony Fauci and the CIA for hiding the aliens from us and the IRS for extracting everyone's money with no accountability and X, Y, and Z. Or I could like accept all those things for what they are and also recognize like, dude, there's a lot of fucking fun to be had around here and a lot of friends to make and a lot of cool shit to get involved in, especially in 2026 when, clean water flows out of the faucet, kind of. Clean water. Water is available, food is available, There's a lot of cool shit out here to focus on. Or to spend your time with. So it is all just fun and games too. It's also this evil fucking corrupt nightmare. But it's also a lot of fun and games. So it's both. It's an evil corrupt nightmare that is also full of fun and games, baby. So it's both. It's the yin and yang, the duality of existence, which I talk about a lot. And I have ranted a lot today. I'm sure a lot of it sounds unhinged, but I believe what I say, and I'm not going to stop. I love you all. Besos.